Welcome to WikiAfrica Hour, a monthly live broadcast airing the fresh perspectives of Africa's Wikimedians. It's a space where they share their work and knowledge and digest, through African realities, the global Wikimedia Movement. WikiAfrica Hour, the voice of African Wikimedians.
Welcome everyone. Thank you for attending today for the 44th episode of WikiAfrica Hour, the episode that sheds light on women, titled Women's Visibility, How the Wikimedia Movement Sheds Light on Women. As you know, in March, we would love to celebrate women. And in this episode, we'll have a guest and guest host that are very experienced in this field. Because as you usually know, that WikiAfrica Hour is the voice of African Wikimedians. And it's a place for to us to have knowledge and digest. So today we are honored to have Isla Haddow-Flood as our host for today is to moderate the session. Isla is the chair and co-leader of Wiki in Africa. She's also the co-founder of our Wiki Loves Women initiative that has developed a cohort of female leaders across Africa through our programs and the ongoing focus group. Wiki Loves Women as well has brought gender-focused initiatives such as, she said, Inspiring Open Podcast, and the ISA tools tell us about her to the movement. To mention that Inspiring Open podcast will also have a recorded interview at the end of this episode. So watch us at the end. Thank you so much, Isla, for hosting the session today. And
Thank you,
Mike is yours.
Thank you. Thanks very much. We have I don't know where I've gone. Hi. We have a jam-packed, exciting show planned for you today, and I'm very honored to actually be on this side of the camera for once. And we have some incredible women who will be joining us from across the movement and at different levels of the movement. So please stay with us today and feel free to ask some questions when you, as we're going through the discussion. So today the topic is women's visibility, how the Wikimedia movement sheds light on women. And it's a vast topic, so we're going to narrow it down. There are two aspects with regards to the visibility of women on Wikimedia. One is the contribution and participation by women to the Wikimedia projects, and the other is the representation of women on the Wikimedia projects. And so today our guests will talk about contribution and participation. So we're just going to limit your expectations about what we're talking about. And the contribution and participations that we're talking about range from editing and adding content to being involved in organizing events, right up to leading communities, building strategy, setting policy, and in this case, leading user groups and chapters and other projects, community projects across the movement. We're going to look at what the problem is, if there's still a problem, and if so, what has been done about it, and in light of today's global political space, that includes policy changes and what we can still be done to bring gender equity into our movement. We're going to get started. So I'd love to introduce today, we have Victoria Doronina, who is a Wikipedian, first and foremost, but she's also a member of the board of trustees, and we're very honored to have you here. Victoria started contributing to Wikimedia. Oh, where's Victoria gone? Victoria started contributing to Russian Wikipedia in 2006 and became an admin and twice has served on the arbitration committee. In 2021, she was elected to the Wikimedia Board of Trustees and was re-elected last year. Welcome, Victoria. As you're just an introduction, as I bring everyone on, it'd be lovely to hear what attracted you to the movement in the first place. So if you could just as like the first wannabe as a woman, what was the thing that got you going into the movement?
I didn't know that it was a movement, basically. I just knew that people were editing encyclopedia. And I was a scientist, so for me, it wasn't a question, can I, as a woman, contribute? The answer was, of course I can. And it took me a while to realize that there are some problems about women participation. Because I was a scientist, I was used to having more men everywhere. So I didn't see that there were very few women, and I didn't think about it until recently, when I just realized that there are very few of us, and I tried to find the answers. Why?
Okay, well, that's wonderful. Well, hopefully we're going to find some answers to that question now, so bear with us. Next is Franziska Heine from Wikimedia Deutschland. She's the executive director of Wikimedia Deutschland. And please, Franziska, could you let us know how you got involved and how you got to the very top of Wikimedia Deutschland?
Well, it all started in 2017 because that's the year I joined the organization, and I started as the head of software development because here in Berlin, we are developing Wikidata, and we did this already back then. And yeah, I did join because I really was fascinated by that project. I loved the idea behind it, and I felt like I absolutely want to be part of that. And I want to contribute the way I can contribute best, and that was from the software side of things. And yes, I did that for 5 years, and then I got the opportunity to co-lead the organization together with Christian Humburg, who unfortunately now moves on to his next big role, leaving me for now at the helm of the organization, which is, of course, a great honor. I'm really, really very happy in that job.
It's the co-lead, I have to say I'm a fan of it. So I do understand. We're going to bring now, we also have Natasha Raut, but she's having connectivity problems. So we're going to bring Bukola James Olutola on. I'm sorry, I've hashed up your surname. Bukola is a certified librarian. She is also in her other hat that she wears. She's the Sub-Saharan liaison for Let's Connect. She's the co-founder of Africa Wiki Women, the vice chair of the Wikipedia and Education User Group, and chairman of Learnovation Network Foundation, which I hope we can at some stage hear some more of. Welcome, Bukola. Can you tell us what initially attracted you to the movement, please?
Thank you, Isla. For me, I would say it was COVID and also my thirst for knowledge. So in 2020, I was serving as an intern at the library, and I got introduced to the One Lib One Ref campaign as a then, and participating in that editathon really was something that inspired me. And because it was lockdown, I wanted to really be busy. So I saw it as a way to like learn something new. And through that, joining that editathon really encouraged me to think more on how I can contribute to other Wikimedia projects and activities. So I would say COVID-19 brought me to Wiki, and also because I wanted to really learn something new. Yeah, so that was what's really inspired me to join the movement. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic because it's only 4 years since you joined, so that's you've achieved a lot in that small space. I think what we're going to do is then just, while Natasha tries to connect, I know that there's some connectivity issues. As we all know, the gender gap in participation, the issue of the inequality of gender participation was first raised in 2008, and then again it was studied in the UNU Merit Survey in 2010, where they found evidence of significant gender skew, which was fewer than 13% of Wikimedian contributors were women. And then by 2012, this figure was increased to 15% of contributions. Now, the 2030 movement strategy invites Wikimedia communities to be safe and inclusive, and its projects to be designed so that everyone is welcome to contribute. And as we know, lots of things have happened since the first kind of flag was raised in 2008. A lot of initiatives have been done on purpose, and a lot of stuff has been raised by the community in order to get participation going. And there's a lot of people, as we can see, there are a lot of people women who are involved at leadership spaces, like almost, in fact, apart from Jimmy Rails, there's never been a CEO of Wikimedia Foundation that hasn't been a woman. So it's kind of, what is the problem as such? I want to, because there are a lot of people who won't understand the problem. So I'd love to hear from you. What is the participation problem? Is it at leadership level? If we look at the foundation, or any of the chapters, a lot of chapters are led by women. Is it a lack of participation? It's all been well documented. So perhaps, Franziska, would you like to share what do you think the problem is, like from a movement-wide kind of perspective?
Yeah, it's really not easy to pinpoint, I would say. I think there's a lot of different contributing factors. I would absolutely agree with what you said. We have really a high percentage of women having very responsible positions in the official bodies. In Wikimedia Deutschland, for example, we have more than half of the team leads and department heads are women, and then generally also in the software department, which is super rare, we have a high percentage of women, which I'm actually very proud of. But like this is not usual and not normal. And I would say that there are elements why I think it is harder for women in the movement to join as volunteers that have to do with our own structures, with the way communication happens on one hand side. But there is also a lot of structures that are within the society and that contribute, right? Because at least the experiences I have with women in our societies, they have a lot of responsibilities, right? Like they do a lot of work. They do a lot of domestic work. They have jobs. They have kids. There's so much going on in their lives, which makes it already a lot less likely for them to join another work in their volunteer capacity. So the amount of women who can even find the time to do that and the resources to join our projects, to start editing, to start contributing, that's already a problem to find that time. And then if I look at least at the volunteers in the German-speaking communities, there's a lot of different kinds of roles, right? Like editing is one, but just one. And I know that there are many women in the German-speaking communities that do other things, that organize events, that organize groups where the women come together, where just women come together. But they also organize generally other events. So they are not that visible when it comes to the editing part, because they do other things within the movement, but not the editing. And that makes them also less visible in the communities. I think this is also another contributing fact, like online, right? Like if you go and see who edits an article, as far as you can judge whether it's male or female, because if you have another kind of role in the community, that will not be visible on that article, for example. So I probably could go on. I think there are more reasons why things are the way they are, but these are some, I would say come to my mind pretty much immediately.
Sorry, thank you, Franziska. I'm just going to bring, Natasha, I was just going to bring, okay, let me bring her up. Welcome, Natasha.
Now
Natasha.
I
Thank
can
you for
hear
joining
you,
us.
but I am on my mobile.
Okay, that's wonderful, but we can hear you, and thank you for joining us. We started by asking people to just let us know how you were first attracted as a woman to the movement and how you got involved from that first edit.
Okay, you need to re-ask the question, because so how did I get involved in Les 100 Pages, you mean?
No, in the Wikimedia movement at the beginning, at the very beginning. What was the trigger?
Okay, it's because we led a program that was founded by the University of Geneva and the Wikimedia Foundation and Wikimedia Switzerland, and we won a prize. And I went to Wikimania in Essen-Olario, and I found all the people absolutely wonderful. And I met Rosie Stepp, who made a call to create other gender gap movements in other languages. And I never got out of it. I still feel it's a marvelous movement where you meet a lot of terrific people with lots of very interesting conversation around the gender gap.
Great, thank you. I remember Essen-Olario well. I wonder, so we were also talking about whether the at a high level, you can see women participating as leadership and stuff. And we wanted to try and unpack the idea of like why the participation levels are so low still. So they had a little bit of a higher kind of blip. They went up a little bit between 2008 and 2014, and now which went up to about 15%, I think, and now they're down to 14%. And I wonder if so Francesca was just unpacking that a little bit, and I wonder if maybe Victoria, would you like to tell us what you think it also contributes to, or if anyone else wants to jump in?
Yes, I think it's a chicken and egg problem, and it's deeper than just participation. I was shocked to discover that most of Wikipedia and other project readers are male, that only about 20-30% of women actually read Wikipedia. And we know that there is a funnel from readers to editors to admins and other online activities. So because Wikipedia was started by men, they are interested in male content. So there are a lot of articles about football clubs and cars and everything, but there is virtually no articles about, say, designers and fashion and cosmetics, whatever. So women are looking for content online and they're finding it in other places. And that already reduces the number of women that look at the content. And then if they're interested in the content, they start to edit and they encounter this hostile environment of male-dominated groups, and it's hard to get through it. And that's why we don't have, and then as Franziska said, we have less time from the start. and we are actively discouraged from participating in tech-heavy activities, and Wikipedia may be considered a tech-heavy activity. So that's my thought.
Yeah, I think that's probably quite right. Bukola, your experience obviously is very Africa centered, and how does what the other two have said, how does that reflect in your experience?
Yeah, thank you so much. I would say it's no different from what they've said. Well, I just wanted to maybe speak more on some other specific area as to why there are less contribution from women, even though like we have women joining a lot of campaigns, especially when it has to do with like international celebration for women. I think based off a recent research we just carried out for the African Wiki Women Technical Research, we discovered that most women do not actively contribute to the projects due to inadequate mentorship supports, because according to some of them, they want to do more. They don't just want to join editing like, oh, this is a campaign, I get recruited, and after the end of this campaign, what happens next? They want to do more. They want to learn how to like organize or lead campaigns themselves. I think another problem we discovered based off that research was that they wanted more localized training. So for some of them, they felt like, oh, there are so many resources on Wikipedia, but how do they navigate it? And also for some of them that has like are not native speakers of English, they also want some of these resources to be localized in such a way that it responds to their local context. So these were some of the findings we discovered out of that research. And I think if there is a way we can really ensure that we sustain we want to sustain women's contribution, then we need to do more in terms of mentorship and providing localized training resources for women. So that's something I would like to really speak more on. And yeah, I see women wanting to contribute. Also, another issue I think we need to address is about how can women identify topic gaps that exist that is related to gender. Because sometimes when you go on wiki projects, we know we have some tools that can help you pull out queries about articles about women, or sorry, articles generally on different topics that are missing some specific contents. Now, how can we help women easily pull out queries, easily pull out articles that are specifically for women and that speaks more on themes that revolves around what interests them? I can also speak for an experience of a campaign that I co-organized under the African Wiki Women, where we just asked women to add statements of occupation to an existing Wikidata item, and they found it very interesting. Instead of like asking women to like come create or expand a large article, they found that simple editing very interesting, because yes, they were just adding occupational statements. So I think we really need to help women understand, or like help them see how they can do simple contribution, little contributions, because that way they can also get inspired to do some other things on Wiki. Yeah, so that's what I would speak to. I think mentorship and also providing localized training resources and tailoring the trainings that we hold to meet the needs of these women. So that also speaks to how we need to carry out surveys pre-training need assessments before we carry out any campaign. So I will just pause here for now and pass the mic back to Isla. Thank you.
Thanks, Bukola. I think it's true that there are so many layers and complexities around why people don't or find it hard to get hooked in or to get into the habit of editing. Natasha, would you like to share also, like, what to you is the problem with participation gaps, with the lack of women participating?
Yes, well, with Les Sans Pages, what we notice is that women have less time. Less time, for example, to get in heated arguments about sources and admissibility criteria. So I completely agree with the fact that we need to define other ways of contributing that are less time consuming. And also, I find that women prefer to, say, contribute one afternoon per every 2 weeks or every month, and to meet socially other women and to discuss a lot. So it's a different way of socializing and getting into the contribution. Most of the time they would prefer to have somebody they can speak to directly to show them, rather than reading lengthy documentation. And there's also the problem of the fall in contribution that you mentioned was I felt in the Francophone community after the COVID period, where so many mothers had depression problems and problems with COVID management and family management. So that is also an issue. So we need to design ways that can facilitate this integration of women with small edits. I think there's a marvelous project led by Florence with the She Said on Wikiquote, which is less time consuming and maybe more gratifying quickly, as you can have a new entry very quickly. So we need to define, to revise the way we evaluate contribution and to stop evaluating people who can contribute a lot, who answer all the time. And for this, we need men to reflect on their positioning, on how they view people who don't respond instantly, people who don't understand as quick as they did, not because they are less intelligent, but because they simply have less time.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Victoria, in your position, I want you to wear two hats a little bit here, with both, you know, your experience within the community, but I wonder, like, there's, as I said earlier, and as we know, the 2030 strategy recommendations, you know, it's all about like making sure that it's a safe and open place. But what's the board's stance on this? Like, where are they sitting?
Well, the board is very interested in reducing the gender gap and making Wikimedia space, equally welcoming to everybody. And this is in our strategy, and this is in our goals and in our hearts. And that's why the board supports initiatives that encourage women to participate. For example, Wiki Women Camp was in India, and I attended it, and Rosie Stevenson, good night, who was also on the board, attended it. And any female-led initiatives, the board is happy about it, and the foundation is happy about it. But there is a paradox that above a certain level, women are participating actively, and we have, as you said, our CEO is female and always been a female, and 50% of the board are also female. And this is spontaneous and emergent ratios. There is no quotes. People just elect us. So this year there was an election, and there were 2 women were elected and 2 men. So, but somehow when we go onto the ground level, The board is not involved in the operational decision. We cannot go to English Wikipedia and say, why are you having so few female contributors? You know, somehow there is a disconnect about the strategy and the tactics.
Yeah, but I think it's also I think that's an interesting thing that and that a lot of people who don't know the Wikimedia movement don't understand, is that the board can only govern so much, that the community itself, and especially on the projects, the contributors, they can't really control. They have no control really over that. It's very much a self-empowerment space where, you know, you have to take that stance. And I think that's almost a cultural issue, in that if women are, you know, as we've been talking, are more easy to step back than men who are more, you know, aggressive about their territory and their space. And that's how some of those kind of anomalies have happened. But there's also, as you were saying, there's this kind of there are in some parts the women have higher levels of participation. So in the organizers, for the latest community insight, they said that there's 34% identified as women as movement organizers, and 24% of newbies are women. So those are much higher levels, but then there's only 7% of admins who are women. So it depends also on roles, and maybe those are traditional views as well. But as you were saying, maybe it's because of being an admin requires a huge amount of time and a huge amount of energy to get to that level. So, you know, those are commitment issues as well. And I wondered, Natasha, in your work that you do with Les Sampages across both Europe and Africa, whether there's been like a difference in culture between working with different, how women are seen or worked with in different spaces. I don't know if there's something that you can share there.
I cannot tell how African contributors view that point of view, but I can tell that when we do online sessions, for example, most people in Africa would join with mobiles, and whereas I was assuming that they would join with a computer, so I've had to revise my own positioning by not asking people to do the work we were training for straight away, but to take notes and send them afterwards, so that they can contribute afterwards. And so that's an issue. So I've considered myself trying to learn to edit with the mobile so that I could understand better. That's the thing I can say. I can say also that I see differences in ways in which Europeans and Africans interact on online sessions. Like in our sessions, the African contributors, but male or female, would be more silent and more listening. And it takes time to enable them to be confident enough to ask a lot of questions and make a lot of mistakes, because this is a way we learn, in a way, because on Wikipedia there is no pre-authorization of what you edit. There's a post-validation that comes or doesn't come with banners and horrendous messages, so that you learn by asking questions. And probably also we should teach people first to navigate and find the information and discuss with each other on Wikipedia to empower them to find solutions and empower them, instead of straight away leading them to editing new articles, where they really get discouraged a lot, because admissibility criteria on the Francophone Wikipedia are very severe.
Thank you. I just want to move towards like more about the initiatives that that are needed to help fill the gap. So a lot of work has been done, and I wondered if we could work through some of those by, if you can imagine or remember some of the initiatives towards gender equity or towards gender kind of at least encouraging women to get involved that have worked. And so, like, what are the initiatives that you most admired that have created an environment that empower women? So in perhaps if each of you could come up with 2 or 3 that you think, so for an example, like the research and data led to UCOC being adopted and implemented, you know, so that created a sense of safety, or at least an idea of kind of like a framework around that. And so something like that, like, who would like to go first? I know I'm putting you on the spot to think quickly, but Bukola, you looked eager.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. So something that we had proposed as a solution to helping women acquire more skills beyond just contributing to, beyond just joining campaigns or joining editathons, was that we wanted them to acquire more skills that will place them in that level that they can confidently lead campaigns themselves. So we are currently running a series of mentorship program under the African Wiki Women. And this mentorship program runs for about 3 months to 6 months, depending on the level of experience of the mentees that we are bringing into the program. So the program itself is to help women learn program organizing skills. So I've seen scenarios whereby people want to run campaigns themselves, but they don't know how to coordinate the process. Where do they start from? When they want to carry out this campaign, they don't know how to even draft a proposal. They don't know how to evaluate, and also how to ensure that their campaigns are targeting the right audience. So this mentorship program is to really help women take up leadership role in terms of coordinating programs, and also taking up new initiative within the Wiki movement, especially in the African space. So part of what we teach them is on how to improve their communication skills, and even how to improve their project management skills. Now, under project management skills, we are looking at how these women can confidently carry out a campaign themselves. So part of what we do is like create series of one-on-one mentorship sessions for them, and we also try to involve them in the process. So while we were running the research, because we had those mentees already, we ensure that they were parts of the process of the development and even the implementation, and like all process that revolves around organizing focus group discussion. How can they do this confidently? How can they develop series of or sets of questions that would speak to the research objective that we've identified, or even like the research questions that we have developed. We also help them learn how to organize online training themselves. Like for some women, they don't even know how to like build up an event meta page. And I found that like it could be a kind of an hindrance if you want to be a program organizer, because you really need to know how to do all those technical stuff on the Wikimedia project itself. So running this series of mentorship program has really helped these women improve over the period of 6 months. And as we'll have it, some of the ladies do not even want to graduate. They feel like, no, they still have to learn a lot more, and they feel like, oh no, I want to be like, I just want to remain as a mentor. But we were like, you have to transfer this knowledge and skills that you've gained to other women, and that's how we
Aggregate
can
stuff.
and that's how we can grow the community and empower ourselves. So the mentorship has really been a good project, and it has really helped us see how women can be practically empowered to acquire skill sets that will help them run campaigns themselves. So that's something I would like to speak to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bukola. Franziska, do you have any idea? Any ones that you particularly like?
Yeah, I was going to mention something very similar to what Bukola just said, because we do have that in the German-speaking community too. And for me, it still remains, because these groups, the Women Edit or the Femnets, they exist already for quite a while, but they remain really one of the strongest forces that brings new women actually into these projects, because they do this in person, but they also do this online, and it makes it's so easy. They're so approachable, and anyone can come, and it doesn't matter what kind of level you have, if you're super new and have never done anything, or if you already did a couple of things. And I think the magic here is really you're not alone, right? Like whatever you do, you have others who you can either ask, or if you get into, let's call it trouble, because you wrote an article and there's people who disagree that this is actually relevant, there is this group, and they will fight with you to make this thing really come to life. And that's why, even though it's not a new thing, this is having an impact. But what I also see is it's sometimes small things, right? Like we have these local spaces across Germany. Like we have 7 places in Germany where there is a space for the volunteers and the community. And there's one particular one in Hanover where a woman joined basically that space, and she came new into the project and the movement. And she's one of these women who mainly organizes things there. She's not super active writing articles. She does that too, because she was there, that created a space and an atmosphere where all of a sudden more women like her joined. And now this is also becoming a group that's growing, and they attract new ones. This is really very contagious. So if you have one, most of the time it doesn't stay one. And then we have from the chapter side, we of course also try to improve the situation and to try to find models to support that. And there we have, I would just mention 2. We have one is called Reshape. It's a project that's really about marginalized knowledge, but that project, there is a lot of women coming with their own project through Reshape into our community. And these women, it's also a bit similar to what Bukola said, they are paired with very experienced members of the Wikipedia community, or like depends on where the project attached best to the movement. And these experienced people from the projects try to bring that specific knowledge and these specific women into the projects. But I have to say, it is still challenging, even though they have a mentor, even though they get help getting their knowledge into the projects. And it feels to me that this is connected also to the fact that there is not already an existing community around. They're on their own with their own project, and they get help, but sometimes that's even not enough. And on the other hand, what we try to do if women are already part of the community, we try to support them in situations when things get difficult, to provide counseling, to provide mediation if they need or want to, or support on specific topics. So last year, for example, we did a program for volunteers because they asked for it around anti-feminist behavior and how to handle that and what to do with that. So it's not only about how we can get new people in, but also how can we change what is driving women out of the projects and help them to stay.
Yeah, it's like feminizing men in a way, trying to get them on board.
Look, the behavior is even though it's often targeted towards women, it is harmful to everyone. It doesn't matter. Like it's not harmful just for and to women. It's just that they are often the first targets. But that behavior, like it drives away a lot of people, not just them specifically.
Yeah. Exactly. Victoria, do you have anything that you particularly admired, like a direction or an angle?
I particularly admire Women in Red. The movement that started by Rosie Stevenson Goodnight about writing articles about missing women, because this is a problem with history in general, that women get written out of history, and that was the case with biography articles on any Wikipedia. And this is a shining example of a completely anarchic movement. There is no centralized organization anywhere. If you want, you can write an article, and that's it. And this is increasing women visibility, and part of that problem that I was talking about, that there is no content that women are interested in. I think that the more articles about women we have, the better for everybody. And that's also where you can meet men who are actually feminists, because most of the contributors are men. So most of these articles are written by men, and it shows that that man, maybe he will be supportive of other issues. So I think this is a good initiative. And the main question is, how can we extend that type of movement to other content, which is useful for women? For example, medicine that concerns women and other topics.
Absolutely. I think the maternal health, or the lack of information about maternal health and the lack of the data is also, it's a whole other WikiAfrica Hour on its own, I think. Natasha, you were obviously inspired, as you said earlier, by the work of Rosie and at Women in Red. And do you want to talk about something like another inspirational space that you think works, that could bring more women in or be supportive?
Yes, art and feminism. I was really inspired by art and feminism for also trying to get out of the binary distinction between men and women and adding a queer feminist perspective to it, being really inclusive with LGBTIQ plus people. And I really think we have to get out of this binary man-woman thing and to be people reflecting on their privileges and their statute and how to mentor and how to learn. I was also inspired by what Femnets did, because I was invited to their 5th year, and then I learned that they had looked at this en page and they decided to create Femnets, and I was really surprised to see that they had done something completely different, but also inspired by it. And I think that's really good in the movement, that it is horizontal and not hierarchical, that each person can decide, okay, how they want to do things and do this with a certain autonomy. Which brings me to one thing that maybe we have not evoked, is that the passion. I used to be a coach at University of Geneva, and sometimes women want to contribute, and the first thing I ask them is, what are you interested in? What do you read? Because to become a good Wikipedian, you need to to read.
Yeah.
It's not just, okay, I want to organize events and do campaigns, but if you want to contribute, what are you interested in? Not like joining an event and working on the list of articles. So I think that we have grown Les 100 Pages on what I call a rhizomatic stance, which stems from the desire of people to contribute on certain subject, which in turn makes them more passionate about. And I'm really proud of the Francophone African community who are contributing just now to the Quinzaine des Autrices Francophones. When I see all these pictures of women smiling and laughing and being happy to contribute, this is really it brings joy to the movement. But what I like is little projects with maybe one or two persons who say, I want to contribute on women collecting fairy tales, or women geographers, or women documentary filmmakers, or witches, or whatsoever, because they're really passionate about that subject, and then they really bring their expertise also into that. And I find these projects more fascinating than large scale campaign who kind of impose a theme on the community instead of, trying to get what is interesting for people and helping them to do it simply.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. Like, in some cases, you need to be as free as possible so people can find themselves. But in some, I find that when people start, they need to be guided. So they need to have something that they can latch onto without having to take too many risks, So like, go into a community and say, I want to do so-and-so, and everyone goes like, oh, what? So I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword.
But that is where a mentor steps in my opinion.
Yes.
The mentor could be a mediation tool between this person's desire and community to bring the communication between the two and say to one person, okay, this is not going to be possible. You are not going to be able to put all the fairy tales on Wikipedia, but you will be able to write on the authors of the fairy tales and bring data into Wikidata. And yes, so that's a kind, and then you can go back to the community and say to the big guys, okay, this person maybe did a few mistakes, but did you realize that as a person coming from Africa, French is not her only speaking language, but maybe her fifth or fourth, and would you imagine going on the German Wikipedia to write in German, So that's when we step in and we kind of cushion the hard stakes coming in the first contributing period.
So I've got two more questions, and I know that we've only got really 8 minutes before Franziska has to go. So I want two of them are pretty. They're pretty difficult. So I wanted to. One of them is, what does gender equity look like? So in the future, like, is it 50-50? Is it what does that mean to you and your community? If you can try and keep it brief, that would be great, because I've got a lovely another juicy topic to ask after that. Victoria, would you like to go first, maybe, about what gender equity means?
I'd like to ask if we're talking about some ideal situation, or do you think?
Yeah, I think it's like, when do we tick the box? Like, at what stage do we tick the box and say, yeah, we've achieved this? So what what is the kind of the finish line to you?
Well, ideally, the finish line will be 50%, but I read some research that the communities are becoming less toxic for everybody if there is at least 20% of women participating. So when you have 20% women, they start supporting each other, they start forming little communities that we're talking about. So I would love to have 50%, but for now, I think the goal of would be increased to 21%, and this should be
That's the
achievable.
tipping point. Fantastic. Franziska, for you, what would be that?
Yeah, for me, the best ratio would be the one that reflects the actual distribution in societies, like that, you know, what we have in the projects reflects what we have in society, and that most of the time feels right for me. And yeah, that would be my answer.
Good. Bukola.
Well, I would say even though 50-50 may not be achievable, because we also have some other challenges that might hinder the equality. I feel like for me, what would make sense to see, or not on the wiki project itself, but in terms of like women participating, is that we see because currently we have less than 20%, or I think 20% point some decimals. I think it would be nice to see how we can, within this year or in 2 years' time, see how we can get more women to contribute and see how we can increase that percentage, even if by 3%. I think that for me would be success, considering what we currently have. When you look at the Omaniki statistics across different wiki projects, I would say 3% increase. It's like success because that would really mean a lot for the project itself. So I'm not too certain that we can get 50-50 immediately or even in the next 5 years. But yes, we can do more and see where we can go from there. Yeah.
Well, 3% takes us up to 18%, which is closer to Victoria's 21 like tipping point. So, Natasha, just
So in terms of participation, 50% is a lot. And then if I look at the sondage, where we have roughly 50% men and 50% women, then you have also the fact that the men contribute more hours, even if they are 50. So I'd say one of the targets would be maybe asking the men to contribute less, or maybe to have 1 week where men don't contribute, just for a try to see if everything falls down, and to bring more women on responsibility. But this is very utopic. So I'd rather say that our target should be 20%. And I agree that when you have a certain percentage of representation, then the topic disappears from itself and things go on, let's just say, naturally, but they need a push from the start. So we are still in the pushing period, and what we really need is not to get discouraged and to foster comradeship and sorority between all of us. Yes,
and with that mind, with that idea of sorority, I just want to quickly go on before Franziska has to run. But how might recent policy changes in places that affect women and discredit or dismantle DEI initiatives affect the open movement? How do you think we should be prepared for what looks like all of these amazing initiatives being undone, not the stuff within the Wikimedia movement, but elsewhere, and how that will impact us? Sorry, Franziska, do you want to go first, just in case you have to leave?
Yeah, this is really, really bad to watch and to see and to look at. And I think right now the best we can do is keep doing what we're doing, because despite those changes happening, I at least haven't seen or heard or felt like we move away from that. We are very strong about women issues and wanting to get better there, but not just. I mean, Natasha spoke about it before. It's not just this binary thing, and we have a lot of elements where we really try to improve the situation around marginalized knowledge, include very diverse people into the movement, into the organizations. And we absolutely have to keep doing that because people are looking at us. I mean, now more than ever, because we are this symbol of this one place on the internet where things are different, this one place that is among these huge corporations, that is a VLOP, like very large online platform, like all these very rich men who went to Trump and bowed to his will, and we didn't do that. And that alone makes us a very special place, and that's why it makes it so much more important that we stick to that and that we keep doing that and that we keep being vocal about it. And then if there's still some capacity left, which is already, right, if things continue like they do, questionable, but try to support others where we can. That's at least what I try to do, and what I try to do with Wikimedia Deutschland, to see how can I support organizations that are in a less good state and are a lot more in danger. How can we help them keep doing the right things? Yes.
Thank you, Francesca. If you do have to go, we won't be. We understand. Thank you so much for joining us, Victoria. I know that you're in a particularly, you're from Russia. So is there a how is your view? What's your thoughts on this?
I'm sorry, I'm not from Russia.
Oh,
I am from Belarus.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That is awful. I'm terrible. I was misinformed.
No, it's not awful. It's a common misconception. But considering what Russia is doing, and now I always emphasize that I'm not Russian. Well, I mean, Belarus is not far behind and sometimes ahead in terms of dictatorships. But yes, so I would say that the Wikimedia Foundation, of course, is not going to change the course. And I read about some departments in the US that were changing in their documents equity to unity. So we're not doing anything like that. Wikimedia Foundation never depended on any government funding. So whatever Trump decides to defund, it doesn't concern us. And there may be a paradox in that as the conditions for inclusivity and equity in the outside world, particularly in the US, are becoming worse, it may be that some people will be galvanized by that and they will join Wikimedia movement as already mentioned that we are an oasis in terms of information, with ability of information and human touch of the information. But also, while we complain that our community is not ideal, it's much better than it is almost everywhere on the web. Because if you look at Meta, for example, they dismantle their moderator team. So you can be as aggressive as you want toward our people, while Wikipedia from the start had rules that you need to behave civilly. And if you're not, then you are removed from the community. Right. And again, we're not changing any of our policies. We are improving them. For example, Universal Code of Conduct. And there are other initiatives that will hopefully improve even more. So I hope that people basically will understand that and join us.
Great, thank you. I apologize again for the incorrect citizenship. Bukola, could you tell us, I know that you also have to go pretty soon, what's your idea about what's currently happening?
Yeah, I would say that even the Wikimedia movement itself is built on diversity, inclusion, and equity. Because if you look at the different projects we have them that representing different languages, right? So that way, I do not see how the global or national issues around DEI is going to affect the projects, because we still need to continue to expand these projects. There are so many topics that are yet to go on Wiki, I mean in local languages, right? And also, given that there are so many new initiatives that are coming up supporting women participation and also promoting inclusivity, I feel this procedure would not limit contribution in areas that has to do with DEI. And based off all of these points, I do not see, even though like outside of the Wiki movement, there might be so many issues around DEI and the likes. Within the Wiki movement, I believe we've positioned ourselves in such a way that we are about diversity, we are about inclusion. And speaking of how we are also clamoring for closing gender gaps and also looking at topics of impact, I feel like all of these things speaks more to DEI than having less of it within the movement. So that's what I would say in response to your question, Isla.
Thanks, Bukola. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having you here. Natasha, would you like to have the final word on this topic about what we should expect? But also, I mean, just I know that the thing that kind of does protect us is the fact that we're not just American centric. You know, we are from all over the world. I mean, look at this. The people who are even in this digital room are from vastly different spaces. So, Natasha.
But not only, we are from different ethnical, religious, philosophical backgrounds, and we, at the end of the day, we are all together Wikimedians, and sometimes we fight, but when we are attacked, we tend to gather together. Like there was an open letter of support for the French community not so long ago that was really encouraging, because in fact what happened is that the Wikipedian French community all sort of gathered together and felt they were striving towards one goal, which was to not be intimidated by rich men who have the power to buy enterprises and do as they please. And our Wikimedia movement is not for sale, and we can be proud of it. Of course, we still have problems. We still have a gender gap. We still have a huge gap in the representation of Afro-descendant people, of minority groups. But we are heading towards the right target, and we are even criticizing ourselves, reviewing our policies. I think that's a message of hope for freedom, for a kind of a Wikimedia community that is able to stand on their feet, not depending on governmental support. And that is something a huge achievement. There was no such achievement in other regimes in the past. So we can bring a message to the world and say to the people that they can still come to us and contribute with a pseudonym and try to get things better and to promote free knowledge. Yes. Also, what I have felt directly after these attacks, for example, in the French press, is that we received numerous offers, les 100 pages, also from the Institut Pasteur. And when we told them, oh, well, have you read the news lately? You know that some journalists are not happy with what we are doing. They said, yes, well, we've decided that it was time for us to not just be stupidly neutral, but to engage ourselves, because times are difficult, and we need to gather together. So I think the academic, scientific, open source world will gather together, and even if we don't get the results in 2 or 5 years, it will be something in the future that we can rely on and be proud of.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think definitely. Is there something, a last word that you would wish to add that I haven't asked you? That's just before we close. Is there something else you would like to add, either of you? That I haven't managed to raise a question that you would like, you wanted to have an answer to?
Thank you, Isla, for inviting us to this wonderful podcast. Yeah, that's all.
Well, thank you very much for being here, both of you and everybody else. Victoria, did you want to say something?
I also wanted to say thank you. It was great.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I think it's just, it's important, especially given it's March, but it's also important that at this very time when people
Isla, can you hear me? Your voice is not working now.
Yes, I know. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, Natasha, but I think the problem is with Isla's sound. No sound, Isla.
No, I don't have any sound.
Can you speak? Yeah.
Can
No
you
sound
hear
from
me?
Isla. Your mic is okay, Natasha. I think Victoria's also okay. The problem from
Yes,
Isla's
I
side.
can hear everybody but Isla.
But yeah, yeah.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. That was a little bit of a technical glitch at the end. We were like steamrolling towards the end. I'm sorry about that. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here until the end and for sharing your perspectives. It's been a wonderful session, and we will see you very soon, hopefully. And good luck with the rest of the year and all of your things. To those of you out watching, please join us next month for the next WikiAfrica Hour.
Isla, yeah. Wait, thank you so much for the conversation. But for our audience, not move away because we still have two sections.
No, do not go away. Do not go away.
Do not go away. Yeah, I will still
we will
catch
be
them.
leaving you, and Donia will be staying. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much, Isla, for hosting the conversation. And thanks for Natasha and Veronica, for Bukola, and for Franziska. Thanks for all our guests. Now we are moving to our next section, which would be the news. So nice watch.
We start with news from Wiki in Africa. The Wiki Loves Africa training and webinars have been in full swing, helping participants refine their skills and enhance their contributions. We are thrilled to announce that additional training sessions will be held now in late March and throughout April. Want to stay updated? Visit the Wiki Loves Africa 2025 news page on Meta for full details.
Now for some Wiki campaigns and events. The Africa Wiki Challenge 2025 runs from May 25 to June 30, 2025. The campaign aims to document stories of justice, restitution, and historical redress for African communities worldwide. Why should you organize this? When you organize this, you strengthen your local Wikimedia community. You help close knowledge gaps on African justice and reparations, and you gain event organization and community engagement experience. If you're interested in organizing an event in your country, sign up using the link on screen now or email info@wafrica.org for more information. Let's make history visible on Wikipedia.
The Shine Her Light Writing Contest returns for its second edition,
focusing on women leading change, stories of strength and progress. This initiative by Open Foundation West Africa aims to amplify the voices and achievements of African women on Wikipedia. Contest details can be found on Meta. Whether you're a seasoned Wikipedia editor or a beginner, this is a great opportunity to contribute to gender equity in digital spaces.
Africa Wiki Women is hosting a special editathon until the 31st of March to celebrate International Women's Month by improving women's biographies on Wikidata. For more details, visit the Celebrating Africa Women in Wikimedia Meta page now.
Moving on to community opportunities and fellowships. The Wikimedia Foundation is seeking candidates to join the Global Resource Distribution Committee. The new body will manage the Community Fund, set funding policies, and improve distribution strategies. The Africa Baraza Working Group is amplifying this call as part of its mission to enhance equity in representation and decision-making. Nominations close on March 31st. More details on roles and responsibilities can be found on the Meta page linked on screen now. For inquiries, contact atorres-ctr@wikimedia.org. Code for Africa is offering stipend-based fellowships for 4 African Wikipedians in residence to tackle gender disparities and climate awareness in Southern Africa. The fellowship duration is 6 months. The stipend offered is $300 per month, and the deadline to apply is March 28, 2025. Apply using the link on screen now. Ideal candidates should have 2 years of Wikimedia experience, event organization skills, and interest in gender and climate awareness issues.
Learn and improve your Wiki skills with these incredible opportunities. Wikitongues and the Wikimedia Hub for Linguistic Diversity, in collaboration with the Dagbani Wikimedians user group, are planning a new Wikimedia conference dedicated to linguistic diversity, and they need your input. Have your say. Share your thoughts on topics and challenges via the survey linked on screen. Your input will shape a conference that meets the needs for language communities. Some news from the community. The Affiliations Committee has recognized Wikimedia Community User Group Burundi as an official Wikimedia user group. This group aims to raise awareness, onboard new volunteers, and promote Wikimedia projects in Burundi. For more details, you can find them on user group page. Congratulations to the new user group members.
The Biodiversity Heritage Library Wikimedia Working Group is hosting 3 events to enhance Wikipedia with images from South American and African collections. These events will feature presentations, structured data discussions, and live interpretation. For the event held in Spanish, it is happening this evening, March 26th at 1900 UTC. For the French event, it will be held on March 28th at 1300 UTC. For the Portuguese event, it will be held on April 2nd at 1700 UTC. These events will include live interpretation in English. Join whether you're a beginner or an expert. Visit the Meta page for more information.
Make sure to visit the WikiAfrica Hour news page on MetaWiki for all relevant links. And now moving to the last and third section of today's episode, which will be the In Focus section. And in today's one, we'll have a recorded interview, inspiring open interview with Victoria, one of the guest hosts for today. So enjoy watching it. Use of it, it's the In Focus section in which we focus on a project, event, or a person. And this time we're focusing on inspiring open women. So thank you so much, Victoria. And first of all, we want to know more about you. So please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hello. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm very happy to answer to your question. So, my name is Victoria Doronina, and I'm originally from Belarus, which is a country between Poland and Russia. And now I live in the UK. I did PhD in Edinburgh, UK, and then I worked as a postdoc. And at the moment, I'm working for Manchester Metropolitan University as a technical specialist in biology. I am also a Wikimedian, so and I am participating mostly in Russian Wikipedia, and I am the member of the board of trustees of Wikimedia Foundation.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks so much, Victoria. It's a great honor to have you today. And we want to start with you, the beginning of your open contributions. So at the beginning, how did you start your open journey, or what brought you to the open movement?
In 2006, there was an article in the Guardian newspaper in the UK, and the article was about this free and open encyclopedia, which everybody can contribute to. And I was intrigued, how can everybody contribute to it? And I decided to try it, and I tried it, and people helped me, and I was hooked. And then I discovered that Wikipedia is only one of the open projects, that there is a whole world of people that contribute together for the public good. And if you think about it, the whole civilization, we know very few names of people that contributed, but it all goes together, and that's how we grow.
Yeah, exactly. Seems inspiring. So after beginning, what did the term open means to you as a term?
As a term, it means open to use and open to contribute. So a lot of people can use it for free, and first you start using it, you maybe don't even realize that it's a part of the movement, and then you start contributing. So everybody wins, no paywalls.
Exactly, and this is bring us to the to elaborate more what open brings to you in your personal in the personal side and in the professional one as well, or your career side.
I used to be a scientist, so I am used to working in teams and collaborating and helping to increase human knowledge. But the problem with science as it is that to contribute, you need to have money. And then you contribute a lot of free work. So your work is just doing experiments and writing it up. But you also do things like reviewing other people's articles, for example, and you're not paid to do that. However, then the publishers take what you've done and they make money out of it.
Yeah.
Right? But if you have an open movement, then what you contribute, other people don't need to pay to use it, and you can use it as well. For example, one of the projects of Wikimedia Foundation that Wikimedia Foundation supports is called Wikimedia Commons. And it contains mostly images that can be reused. I contribute images there, and if I need to illustrate my blog posts, for example, I can take it from there and just keep the license, show who did it. So in the end, if something is paywalled, very often it's not used at all. But if it's open to use, then you can
use it
around the world, especially, digital content. It's not a thing. It's not like there is one of it. You can copy it but the image remains the same, right? So there is no point in paywalling it. The same with information. If there is a scientific article and people want to read it, it would benefit the authors if more people read about it and comment about it and do their own research. Unfortunately, in most cases, it's not free. Also, there is a movement among scientists and publishing to have it, again, open access. It means that anybody can read, anybody can download.
It's free access, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And even it's the open thingy has been spread recently, but it's still we need more. So what do you think what do you think is important things to come with the open concept to the next level?
I think that we need everybody who's aware of the concept, they should spread it, and they should tell people what it is, and encourage people to use it, and then encourage people to contribute. So it's the same as Wikipedia. You spread awareness, people read it, and some people, like myself, decide to contribute. Right? So the more people know about the concept of the open, the better for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. And as you now has spent like years in the open movement, serving in open aspects, have you experienced any issue or disadvantages that you felt that your gender was like a gap or impacted your choices as a female?
The movement, the Wikimedia movement and the open movement in general, it's mostly male dominated, and it presents challenges. I wasn't even aware of it, but when I registered in Wikipedia, I used a male sounding username because it was the name of my native town, but the town was named after a man. So people thought that I was a man, right? But then people got confused because I wrote, you can see I wrote as a woman. Why do you have a male name? And I was renamed, and my name is Victoria. And then lots of people they understand that this is a woman. And sometimes it presents a challenge because some men are not used to women being an authority. For example, recently there was a dispute between two Wikipedians, and I was, as an admin, I went and wrote to the new users that, what you're doing is not correct. And he wrote in response, "You young lady." I mean, he doesn't know how old I am, and it doesn't, even if I am a young lady, I'm not here as a lady. I'm here as an admin.
As an admin, yeah.
Yes, admin. The admin doesn't have gender. That doesn't matter that I am a woman. No,
yes, it's my responsibility, and I act like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's there is always, as I say, in male-dominated spaces, there is always an additional scrutiny to a woman, and you need to prove that you can do things. Yeah. And also you need to prove that you are one of the boys. They don't like when you say, as a woman, I am saying that you are discriminating against. They don't like it. As soon as you stay low and don't assert your rights, you will be fine.
Yeah, and I hope things will be better, and we as women have like more empowerment and more representation throughout all fields, not just in the Wikimedia movement. And as a leader or as you mentioned, you already admin in Wikipedia, and you're also one of the board of trustees now. So, in your opinion, what efforts or initiatives that that are essential and needed to ensure gender equity?
We need to talk about gender gap. We need to explain to people what is gender gap. And it starts, we all know that there is fewer women that are collaborating in the open, but it's also about content. The content is male oriented, and then so fewer women read Wikipedia, for example, and then fewer women contribute, and on top of that we have all this additional demand on our time. Wikimedia Foundation is promoting gender equity. There is an initiative called Wiki Women Task Force, and it's a grassroots initiative to help bridge gender gap. And I think that we need to start from not being afraid to say that we're women, basically. And not being afraid to say that women have the interests and we can contribute in ways that men cannot. And when men and other genders will get used to us, it will become better. I saw data that if you have 20% of women anywhere contributed, 20% of your team are women, then it becomes much easier to be a woman. You feel less intimidating, people listen to your ideas. So if we invite other women, and if this
We
woman
support ourselves as well, yeah.
And if we support each other, then we will make it better for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, Victoria. It's it was a great pleasure to have this awesome conversation with you. And please, if you have any other topic that you want to raise and we haven't covered, please raise. We still have like 2 minutes if you want to elaborate anything related to your journey in the open movement or something.
I just want to say,
Maybe advice to women, yeah, or maybe any advice to women.
Yes, don't be afraid. The problem with our problem as women, we are told that we're not good enough. So usually a woman that thinks that she's not good enough is twice as good as any given man because they're very sure in themselves. And it's always been my strategy in life to try something. And sometimes it doesn't work, it doesn't suit me, so I just give up. But sometimes, like with Wikipedia, it works. So if you want to remember one thought, is it's better to try and not succeed than don't try at all. Then you don't know, maybe you wouldn't succeed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's better to try always. Thank you so much, Victoria. It was an inspiring interview. Thank you so much for participating in this interview and for participating in the episode as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. You know, I watched Africa Hour and I thought, oh, great people. And now I'm one of the people, you know, that talk on it. I'm very happy. Thank you.
Thank you so much.